So we will have
Swear by the Almighty God. Swear by the Almighty God. That the evidence I shall give before this committee.
That the evidence I shall give before this committee.
Touching the matter in issue. Shall be the truth.
Shall be the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
very well.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and distinguished participants in this session. My name is Saddick Adams, again, a lead convener of the group. A bit of clarification, the group's name as a sports pressure group is Save Ghana Sports, but this was specifically petitioned as against the happenings in football. That's why it was titled Save Ghana Football, and presented on the 14th of February 2024 to the House of Parliament, as you've already mentioned. And this was with respect to the happenings of the national teams or issues of our national teams, especially at the back of the African Cup of Nations, where Ghana embarrassingly crashed in the group stages for the second time running in Ivory Coast, coupled with the poor state of our domestic competitions, as well as school sports and the juvenile national teams. So in totality, we had a list of points that we had suggested or put on paper, presented to this august house for your consideration respectfully. I'll run through them briefly so the house can proceed. So the first point was that for the past, 20 or 30 years, we have seen an alarming decline in the state of our football, which united us and continue to unite us as people, regardless of color, race, religion, and political inclinations. We believed that it is an industry that must be upheld with the greatest of focus and consideration by our authorities and stakeholders involved. There hasn't been any national policy that is identifiable by all, despite our regard and pride that we hold football with. And so, leadership after leadership, we see everyone deciding to go according to how they think they can man the industry. And this has led to the alarming decline of the sport from number 1 in Africa in the last 20 years, at least in the last 15 years, from number 1 in Africa to now 13th, and from 14th in the world with respect to the Black Stars, from 14th in the world in the last 14 years to now being 70th, the lowest we have ever gotten to in the last 15 years. So we suggested the development of a national football policy that will encompass all the stakeholders, putting together their views so that every leader who comes in sports, especially football, will go by that blueprint of Ghana's culture, tradition, and everything that our sports is embedded with. There is no identifiable or recognized national football policy, and that is the only way we believe can lead our sports into the realms that we want to see. Number 2 is that we suggested that we institute a commission of inquiry, just like we did after the 2014 World Cup. And this must be done to probe the factors contributing to the poor performances of our national teams. Mr. Chairman, we also believe that there has been lack of accountability generally with regards to football in this country. We mentioned that in the last 15 years, from our first qualification to the World Cup in 2006 to the last one in 2022, Ghana has received over $50 million in grants from FIFA. And this is a country that currently has no national football stadium standard enough to host international matches. We do not have a training pitch to allow the national team train. So after receiving such huge sums of money, we believe that there should be accountability of where these sums of money have sunk and for what purposes, leading to the embarrassment that we have suffered in the last few years. Some of the issues mentioned in the petition, respectfully, Honorable Chairman, were very pressing. We believe that we required urgent attention. So after the embarrassing exits, the Ghana Football Association hurriedly put together a committee in search of a coach. And this they had done consecutively for the past 3 editions. Anytime there is a disastrous exit, they go together to form a committee to search for a new coach. And this is the same committee that has done this over the years. And we come back to the same issue. And we believe that when trees fall on trees, the topmost must be removed first. So we wanted the dissolution of that committee. I'm sure that that has long gone beyond the required attention that was supposed to be given to it, because the committee has gone ahead to do their work and brought in the coach. We also called for the disbandment of management committees. This issue has bedeviled our national teams. 7 management committees for all the various national teams, and if you put together the totality of it, a lot of money go there. In the past, we used to have national team boards where at least 10 or 11 respected and revered football people, a blend from politics, from academia, from entertainment, put together, and our football administrators and ex-footballers, so that they can be selected to follow the national teams. Countries like Germany, Morocco will have 2 people following their national teams when they travel. Sometimes you see 7 member committees following Ghana to a national team camp. At the end of the day, all these people are going to be paid. And it has led to friends and cronies being employed by football leaders to lead these national teams just for the purposes of per diems, when issues of indiscipline has still characterized our national team despite these large numbers. If there are 15 national teams and you have 7 members for each of them, you can count the number of people that follow our national teams when they travel. Despite all that, the problems of organization and discipline still continue to feature prominently when Ghana travel for international tournaments. So we call for the disbandment of these management committees and put in place a national team board generally to steer the affairs of our national teams. Honorable Chair, respectfully, and this issue of lack of player development has led to Ghana's poor show and the dying of football in the country. We have, since 2017, major attention has been paid to the Black Stars, but since 2017, none of Ghana's youth teams has qualified for the World Cup. I'm sure that all of us here will recall when we used to be the world's favorites in under 17, 91, Mr. Fiano is here, 93, 95, Ecuador. These were the bedrock of our football. Players picked from the hinterlands, Kentampo, Sefi, Sunyane, formed the base of our national team, even from the days of Nkrumah. New horizon, young players who will come and feature for the senior national teams. Ghana has abandoned that and now go around searching for players who were born in other countries and bred by their philosophies. When they mature, we bring them to our national team and expect them to play the kind of football that Ghana wants in 3 days. Some of these players arrive in the national team camp a day before the game. They have never played together, but this is not how our football used to be. We build our national teams based on under 15, under 17, they go to the World Cup, they become household names before we call them into the national team. They play in our leagues. Since 2017, we have not qualified for any World Cup in the youth teams. And the last time we qualified for an Olympic football tournament was in 2004, 20 years ago. And we were the first African country to win a medal in football at the Olympics in 1992 Barcelona. If 20 years we have not qualified for this particular tournament that we were torchbearers in Africa and the world, I think it is alarming. Lack of player development. We need to go back to investing in grassroots football, developing our young footballers from young age to be able to mature and stop going around the world looking for players who have matured and been rejected by England, Spain, Belgium. We go for them and they don't play with the kind of, not all of them, the kind of alacrity and the Ghanaian reception that we expect them to play. So lack of player development, I've mentioned the problem and the solutions that we put together. Structural reforms was point 7 of the Ghana Football Association. The Ghana Football Association and FIFA agreed in 2011 when there were issues that there should be a FIFA standard cooperation agreement where government will have representatives and people from ex-footballers put together to see issues of between the Black Stars, the national teams, the GFA, and the public. So there should be a public interest committee. The Football Association now appear to be run by people who think, who call themselves football people. Normally, football is for the fans. If there are no fans in the stadium, nobody goes there. But they constantly refer to football as, if Ghana Bar Association, you cannot be a member of Ghana Bar. If you are not a member of Ghana Bar Association, you cannot comment on issues of Ghana Bar Association. But I think that when Ghana Bar Association, or we believe that when Ghana Bar Association have their conference, you can decide not to watch. You can decide not to switch on your TV, but people have the right to watch their national teams. Reason why the Ghana Football Association is different from a bar association or a group that is exclusive to some category of people. So the establishment of a FIFA standard cooperation agreement and the public interest committee, which this government, not this particular government, but Ghana's government in 2011 agreed to set up, to steer the affairs and liaise between the public and the Football Association, especially in terms of governance and accountability, needs to be set. They never met when they were put together in 2011, and they had only two meetings since 2011. And this is the reason why the public has been so much detached from affairs of football in this country. Structural reforms of the National Football Association. National team funding is very critical, Honorable Chairman. We believe that it is public knowledge that Ghana government funds activities of the national teams. It's from the taxpayers' money that is invested in the national teams. But what we have identified is that a chunk of this money goes directly into the Black Stars alone. The mode of funding, about 80%, 85% of what we had calculated, national funding from government goes into the Black Stars, with disregard for all the other national teams and other key agencies such as infrastructure. So until there is a tournament for the Black Stars, there is no apparent focus and investment in the other key areas. So it has become a facade. When the Black Stars play, you see a nice roof. Ghana football, very nice roof, but the foundation is weak. We invest so much into the Black Stars at the expense of the other key areas, but FIFA has suggested a pyramid where a chunk of the investment from FIFA, GFA, and government should go to the base of football, and the base is the grassroots, the infrastructure. But we have turned, so it is a collapsible pyramid that we operate. We invest money in Black Stars at the detriment of the development, and this is the reason why we have seen the worst decline in our football in the last 15 years. We mentioned the investment in grassroots, so I will not touch the domestic competition. My chief executive officers are here. We used to have a vibrant football economy, the best in Africa. We are now, if not the poorest, respectfully, Honorable Chair, one of the poorest leagues in Africa. Ghanaian players are moving to Ethiopia. They are moving to Iraq in droves Ghanaian players are moving to Tanzania. They are moving to Togo with pride. They say on radio that their next destination should be Tanzania. That is the prayer of a top Ghana football player now. And these are issues of lack of investment, lack of accountability, detachment of funds from football, and the general lack of cooperation between the stakeholders. If we had a vibrant football league, the success of every footballing country is the domestic competitions that they run. The Ghana Football Association, in our opinion, have neglected their core duty of managing a domestic competition so that we have a very vibrant weekends in Volta region, in Ashanti region. We used to have weekends where Kumasi, Sunyani, Takrady, Accra, people have avenues to go for leisure, watch football, make money, boost the economy. These are the indicators in countries where they run football. The economy is based on these factors. We have neglected that. Our league, we emphasize, is one of the poorest in Africa at the moment, and there is an urgent need to address that. To wrap it up, accountability has been mentioned. I won't mention again, but this point of accountability, the Ministry of Sports, the National Sports Authority, is mandated by law, by the decree that set it up, to seek accountability, check all the national federations, not football, and look at the sponsorship that comes in there. The people who sponsor Black Stars are not sponsoring because they like Ghana Football Association, but because they love football and the fans that follow. There have been so many instances where sponsorships are given to the Ghana Football Association, the Black Stars, and you do not know what goes into the use of such investments, like Flora Tissue, Z-Pay, Cherry Cars, especially at the World Cup. Black Stars got $2 million in 2 years from a company. And this is a country that I emphasize again, does not have a training facility for our national team. We have to rent a private facility for our Black Stars to train anytime they are in town, with all these monies that we receive each year. We call for a stakeholder engagement, and this is one of them, and we appreciate Parliament, despite the delay, that you have invited us here. We also want you to consider in the House of Parliament the final point that there should be a reduction of tax on football and sports-related events. Like we mentioned, this is a sports pressure group, but so many of our chairmen here have their staff at the ports, the national teams, the GFA struggle sometimes to clear their staff from there. And also, when there is a music at the Accra Sports Stadium, there is a 3% tax VAT, as we understand. But if there is a musical concert by a musician on Friday, but on Sunday, the Ghana Football Association or clubs play, there is a 15% VAT. 17.5 VAT. So this is entertainment, creative art, and sports. But when there is a football game, it is 17.5. But when Samini or Shatawale plays on Friday, it is 3%. We want a flat VAT rate for sports to improve it. So these are the pointers that we respectfully put together, and we believe that with the stakeholder engagement and Parliament's inquisition in some of the points that we put together, we shall see a rise of our football back to the top where we used to be. Thank you very much.
Mr. Speaker, and refer to the committee to investigate and report back. Before probably I ask a few questions of you colleagues, I mean, do you have some questions to ask before we discharge them temporarily, in the sense that many of the institutions will be coming in? We will listen to them as well, some of which hinge on some of the things you have mentioned, and where we will need further better clarifications of issues, and we think you should come back. We will invite you again to, come and assist the committee to do a very good job, because we believe at the end of it all, it is Mother Ghana that flies. And so, colleagues, yes.
I need some clarification on the point 13, national team coaches salary challenge.
So all national team coaches must be provided with contracts and be paid just as the Black Stars coach to cure the issues of bribery heavily associated with the management of the other national teams. Can you expatiate on that point?
Thank you very much, Honorable. I think I overlooked that in the speed of events. So it is a fact that the various national teams coaches from under 15, today we have under 13 and under 15, but from under 17 up to the Black Meteors, which is the team before the Black Stars, all the coaches there are not paid. They are given contracts, but they do not receive salaries as frequent as they, until there is a tournament. Many of them have sent us distress calls that they are appointed, but they are not paid. Some of them have gone 3 years. Some of them have gone, Malik Jabel, Ghana legend, has gone 11 years without receiving a penny since being appointed as the under-23 coach. So the call-ups in our various under-17s, the reason why we are not qualifying, the key factor is that these coaches are not paid. They are called. Some of them are given a sheet to sign as appointment letter. There are no indications of how much they will be paid and when the money will come. And because of possibly the love for the game, they take up these challenges. And where do we think they will get money from? This is an industry that is so much embedded with money. There are agents who would want their players to get into the national teams. And as journalists, from our investigations, there are people who come to the national team camps to offer money to the coaches. And these coaches are not paid. And so in return, some of them will be manipulated to invite players who are not fit enough to play for Ghana because they are not paid. And I'm sure the Ministry of Sports, they are here. The Ghana Football Association are here. Some of the coaches will be here to attest to the fact that apart from the Black Stars, where the assurance is given and guaranteed that the coaches will be paid, I know and we know of coaches from the junior national teams who have never received their salaries and do not know how much they will be paid because it's not indicated in the contracts that they are offered as employment contract. Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Garlic.
Well, betting is a global issue. It doesn't affect Ghana alone. There are countries with high rates of betting. The issue of reported influences of betting in our league is because from what we as journalists have spoken to, some of the players receive mega salaries. Some of the players do not even know the rules and regulations of going to a game and betting on that same game, the compromise. Lack of education, lack of proper financial considerations given to them. Some of the issues that have been reported even come from people connected to the team. The Ghana Football Association did their investigation, and chairman of a club, chairman of a Ghana football club, was betting on his own team. So the influence comes from the fact that people think they can go scot-free. They can go without any punishment when they, so the influence cuts across lack of education, lack of proper financial commitment given to the players. The regulations are not strict enough, and we believe that since betting is a global pandemic, unless of course we want to ban it in Ghana as a country, it's part of sports. Elsewhere, it's a leisure for people who are aged to go into betting. But it's become a canker because of the lack of employment and the challenges that I've also mentioned. It has influence on all sports, but when the regulations are strict enough and the education is higher, I'm sure that we can have a good running league without people going into betting when they know that they will be punished when they are caught. In China, it's a jail term when you are caught betting on football as a participant of a game. This is the level that some countries have gotten to eradicate and reduce betting's influence on the game. Thank you.
Good.
The contracts that they are giving, some of them that I've chanced on are contracts of appointment. Because the Ghana Football Association does not pay the coaches. It is not according to them their responsibility
Hello,
to pay.
where you think
Yeah.
any question, you're not comfortable with,
Yeah.
because it is, we will do the fact finding.
Yes.
You are submitting, but where you think you want to just say so, you are not compelled
To say it.
to answer anything, because you are speaking under oath, mind you.
Right.
Good.
So it's not a blank check, a blank paper to sign, but they are giving appointment contract without the salary indications, because it's paid by ministry. And some of the appointments is done by Ghana Football Association. So that's where the issue is.
Richard, you want to go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. So I just want to do a follow-up on Alaji's question. And
Respectfully, Mr. Chair, I want to submit that if documents like that are required of us, if the committee can give us time, we can do.
Good. Yeah, sure.
To further clarify that, some of the coaches have spoken publicly about not being paid. And I mentioned Malik Jabel, who I spoke to personally. These are issues that we can invite the coaches themselves. These are names I've mentioned, so I'm sure that the tapes are there, not being paid for years. So we can produce that, and then you can invite them as and when the committee wishes. Thank you.
So in addition to that, you will assist the committee
in
with
your policy point 7, you talked about structural reforms. And in it, you are making consideration where you recommend that the National Sport Authority or the Ministry of Sports should sign the FIFA Standard Cooperation Agreement that ensures the government can involve in the organization, technical direction, administration, and the financing of football without the usual FIFA interference rhetoric. This is something that we normally hear, that say government cannot interfere in FIFA, and when you do that, you suffer a ban. How do you think this suggestion that you are proposing would be able to cure that? If it is a myth, I don't know, or if it's a reality, how does it cure it?
Thank you very much, Honorable. So there's a background to this. In 2011, there was an invasion of the Ghana FA offices by officers of Yoko. And then there was an impending ban by FIFA. The then president of the country traveled to Switzerland to meet FIFA, and this was one of the issues that was recommended. That government invests so much in the national teams and the Ghana FA in various areas. And if government wants to make inquiries into sports and they cannot get the accountability they require, government should form a committee that will have football people also on board to be able to liaise between the GFA and then the agency that government set up. So the name of that was FIFA, the contract was FIFA Standard Cooperation Agreement, and there was also Public Interest Committee. So these are recommendations, not by us, but it's been set. This FIFA Standard Cooperation Agreement, to the best of our knowledge, has not been signed. And reason why there is always a conflict of FIFA interference, because if government invests in the GFA, we believe that government should have not control, a collaboration of that effect to be able to know how the affairs of football is managed to the larger interests of people. So this is something that has a background in our own country, and we believe that we should go back to that and get, not to control the GFA, not to influence them, but FIFA themselves understand that between government and football association in Africa, there should always be a body that will interlace between how they conduct affairs. Thank you.
Yeah, so I just want to correct, not that just for our own better understanding of the government invests in the management of Black Stars, not investment in GFA. I mean, we should draw that distinction. So where government is investing in GFA, then there are bigger question marks. And so if you have any evidence to that effect too, we'll be glad to receive that.
When we okay, thank you very much. I think I agree with that point to say government doesn't invest in Ghana Football Association. Government invests in their national teams, which is for government. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to find out from your policy point 11, establishment of national training complex. Can you expatiate on that, because with all the policies, that was the only one that you just stated it without any.
Thank you very much, Honorable. The establishment of a national training complex has become very important in recent football, not even recent. Ghana had Winneba Sports College, where the top athletes from our various schools after inter-schools were selected and kept, trained, educated, whilst they compete in their various sports. And this is where you pick the best of football or athletes from when you require them for international competitions. That has virtually collapsed. There is also the Ghana Football Training Center in Pram Pram, where footballers are supposed to train. Countries like Mali, Morocco, Lesotho, Mauritania, Senegal are going by that in the last 20 years, have set up large football complexes. And this is where your national team is supposed to have their camp base. So when the footballers move in here, the senior national team will have a camp base where they sleep. For the last years, as we recall, the Black Stars continue to sleep in hotels even when they are in Ghana, which is not the standard practice globally. They should have their training complex, that is the Ghana Football Complex. And this is where the under-17, under-20, under-23, the women's national teams, when they have camping, should be camped. And the best of them are retained there. FIFA provided money for that in 2005-06, give money to Ghana Football to establish a school where the best talent will be put there, educated, whilst they compete. So it becomes easy to have them. We do not have, and we are probably one of the first countries to have participated in the World Cup and the AFCON, and not having a national training complex, having our national teams continue to sleep in hotels when they come to play at home. We require this as urgent as the need be. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking at the suggestions, recommendations, structural reforms, and all that, you will see that. Have you looked at the existing statutes laws establishing those entities to know where these things are possible, and what may be your suggestion so far as if we will have to call for amendment into those laws that are establishing them? Currently, that is what they are using. I mean, so have you done some work in that regard?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. At the point where we mentioned structural reforms, we were very specific on some of these things have been researched on, recommended after a careful study. So it is not a new invention by our committee or by our group.
Extend it to the committees as well. There's those subcommittees you were mentioning.
Yes, so these are issues that we believe doesn't conflict with any regulations or laws. By the National Sports Authority, the act or the statute that establishes the National Sports Authority mandates them to run the affairs or liaise. They are supposed to lay down the policy for all the sports federations in this country. And so federations like boxing, tennis have to go through the National Sports Authority. This is the statute that establishes our body to run sports in this country. The Ghana Football Association is not an exception of these federations. So I'm not sure that when the statute expressly states that the National Sports Authority is the body mandated to have all these federations under them in terms of governance, it goes against that same statute that is explicit in how it is run. On the management committees, this is very flexible. So the Ghana Football Association decides on the number of committees they have to establish to manage the national teams as and when they desire to do so. And we have witnessed issues in Brazil 2014 World Cup with issues of management. We have witnessed issues of management committees and issues of indiscipline in camp and things that have continued to feature. It is our suggestion that if government that pays for the affairs of the national teams cannot indicate to the Ghana Football Association or cannot liaise and cooperate that there are 7 members, we have found that globally there is a way to do this without compromising the orderliness and organization of sports, to have 2 or 12 member boards that the FA used to have some time past. I don't think these are issues that conflict statutes, and it is very clear in the GFA regulations and statutes as to how they can go about appointing some of these members. So sometimes they go beyond football to bring people from academia, from security on these committees, and it will be very prudent that there is a suggestion of cutting down the number. We are not saying they should be banned or there should not be any management committee. But if a whole German national team can have 1 person as a coordinator for the national team, we believe that it can happen for Ghana to have 1 or 2 people coordinating the affairs, especially, Honorable Chair, as there is a technical team of around 10 to 12 people. We believe that the number of management committee members for our national teams is on the higher side. Thank you.
So, in effect, the laws exist. They just simply need to be enforced in a way that helps prudence. Is that it?
Thank you very much.
So,
I just want to make a little point here. Ghana missed a point, or we missed our destiny boat when we had the chance to put normalization committee in place to regulate some of these things. It was the only time that FIFA allowed us as a country to put up structures to man our football without any punitive measure from the world governing football body. Things that we believe that should have been done then were left to the very people who parade themselves and say that they are the football people and that management of football should be left entirely in their hands to continue to do the very things that we have been recycling over the period. For instance, Mr. Chairman, it will surprise you to know that today you can only be a member of the executive committee of the Ghana football if you own a club. Where does that happen? That in a league that you oversee, your team is competing in that same league. Mr. Chairman, let's avert our minds to this. To the extent that today it is a known fact that the president of the Ghana Football Association owns about 5 clubs.
well,
You understand, Mr. Chairman?
he's not here, but then I will suggest that he will have his bites. So let's take note of all these, so that we can then, when he comes, he can clarify that. So just say what you want to say without necessarily mentioning it for now. Since
Okay.
the person is not here. He's not here to rebut. What do you think?
Mr. Chair, I think it's, we are here to get information and then also act on issues raised. Some of the information is given also gives us the facts. So because if he doesn't mention it, how would we also know that the GFA boss has, because it's not in this report. But in his response, we get some of those facts. We can also verify from him when he also appears before us. So I don't think...
I think my colleagues are thinking otherwise, so please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, honorable members. Mr. Chair, the point I was driving home is that, to be fair, if you preside over a body that oversees the management of football in a country, and your team is competing, let's think about this. For instance, let me give you just an example. In the just ended Premier League, I think the penultimate match, if I'm right, the match between RTU and then Dreams FC, the team owned by the president of the Ghana Football Association. It happened that RTU had to put up a team to play the GFA president's team, Dream FC. RTU did not put up any single player they have registered for the ended Premier League, they put up a man-shift team of able bodies who had not been registered to take part. Regulation-wise, they were not permitted to take part in the league. They came to play the match. And till date, as we speak, Mr. Chairman, it will surprise you to know that the players, the officials that took the decision to allow RTU to play with players who are not registered to play the league, they are still walking around freely. Nothing has happened. And to the extent that the player that benefited from that match scored 5 goals, was credited the goal king of the season because he was so fortunate to play a team that did not qualify to play the
Goal king of his club, not
his club. 5 matches. In that match, that ordinarily should not have even happened at all. Mr. Chair, it happened.
5 goals in a match.
5 goals.
Please.
I'm not done, Mr. Chair. Respectfully, I'll just wrap up.
Yes,
I'll just
okay.
wrap up, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, there's a catalog of issues that I would have given if time would have permitted us, but because I know you are pressed for time, I just want to make this, that you are the hope of Ghana. You are the rep of the people of Ghana. We believe that this committee that you proudly chair has what it takes to, if for nothing at all, recommend to the August House of Parliament or the full House of the Parliament to institute measures to address the speedy decline of Ghana football. How did it happen? How on earth, for the life of somebody who loves football, can that person imagine that today Comoros can dare Ghana Black Stars and say, if we meet you 10 times, we'll beat you. And indeed, they will beat us. That is the state of Ghana football. Mr. Chair, 2 successive AFCONs, 6 games. Ghana is 1-1. Possible 18 points. Ghana has 4. And that is the state of Ghana football now. It is not as if somebody hates somebody or no. The fact is that Ghana football is on a steady decline, and we believe that if there is any hope anywhere to halt things, to right wrongs, it is this body that we are privileged to be invited to appear before. Mr. Chairman, we believe that you will not let the people of Ghana down by doing what is right and what is expected of you to ensure that Ghana football comes back to where it proudly belongs to. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Alban Sumana Bagbin. We will do a good job. We will do what we are required to do under the law. So don't be worried. We will do our best. Then on this note, I think you are done, but not fully, because we might invite you again to come and again throw more light on certain things that in the course of our meetings might come up. And so we'll require that you come back and give us further, better particulars. We'll also be happy if you have some documents to assist the committee to undertake its work. Feel free to bring them. If you have any here, we'll want to take them. And apart from the petition we have in front of us, if there are any other documents you want to give us, we'll gladly take that. And so we discharge you in the absence of any further comment or giving out of any document from you temporarily